Hey there, Oakland Church family. I just want to greet you with a few words and thoughts that I've been having over these last few days. I know that this is uncharted water and unprecedented times that we're in, and I'm sure for many of you, you're having to figure out a new rhythm of life. Whether that's a new work-life balance, or maybe you've had to put on a new hat of homeschooling your children. But whatever the circumstances are, this is still uncertain times, especially thinking about how do we move forward? What does that look like when we want to move forward? There's just been one verse that's come to my mind, or really just one passage, and it's out of Joshua. And it's Joshua starting in chapter 1, verse 6, and it says this. It says, "Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the left or to the right. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So I want to break this passage down for you, church. Here in Joshua 1, this is God's charge to Joshua. Joshua is taking up the mantle of Moses, one of the greatest leaders, probably the greatest leader of Israel of all time. And Joshua is tasked with taking up the mantle. And here God is giving him a charge, and ultimately God says to Joshua, "This is my command, be strong and courageous." Church, that's kind of hard, especially when we're thinking about moving forward. But when we look at Joshua, we also realize that this is God's charge to him as Joshua was about to move forward into the promised land. So church, let's think about the promised land. What does that look like for you? Take a minute and just think about that. What is your promised land? I want you to know that God is saying to be strong and courageous as you are preparing to step into that promised land. But not just to be strong and courageous. There's a second caveat to this, and that's simply this. God says, "For I am with you wherever you go." God Emmanuel is with you. That's what we can be certain about in uncertain times, is that God is with you. He is with us. As we get ready to walk into the promised land, He is with us. That even though right now you might be walking through a dark valley, you can rest assured that the God of all the heavens and the earth, He is walking close beside you. And that proximity creates intimacy. As you're lying beside still waters and in green pastures, as you're resting and during this time, that is intimacy with Christ, with the King, and with a good Father. And so as we are charged to be strong and courageous, remember that God is with you. And lastly, there's one last thing I want to leave with you, and it's this, is that when you flip through a few chapters forward in the book of Joshua, you go to Joshua chapter 4, this passage looks at memorials. Through all of the hecticness and through all that's been going on, it's kind of hard to look at any benefit that there has been during this time. Or anything that has been of any good. But what we know is that what the devil meant for evil, our God can turn for good. And so I want you to take time to remember the good things that have come out of this. Take time to remember the family meals. Take time to remember that extra moment you got to spend with your child. Take time to remember that extra time you spent with your spouse. There's conversations you got to have. Or remember that the books you got to read that you've been putting off to read. Remember the rest that you've been blessed with. The time to kind of get out of the rat race and step aside from the productions and everything else that's going on. Take time to remember that you've been able to breathe. Take time to remember that God is with you. So church, it is my hope and my prayer that this has been a word of encouragement to you, and that this is speaking to your heart. And please know that we love you. We are thinking of you. We are praying for you. God bless you, and go in his presence and in his peace.